that host tissue also has in common with the bacteria. Very good. Okay, so let's get into this. Drugs that affect bacterial cell wall. Okay, remember most bacteria cell wall contain peptoglycan. Okay, so antibiotics that interfere peptoglycan synthesis include the beta-lactam antibiotics. Okay, these are groups of antibiotics that have a beta-lactam ring. What's considered a beta-lactam class? Penicillins, cephalosporins, carbapenems, and monobactams. I need you guys to know the following. All beta-lactam antibiotics have a high therapeutic index. All of them. Okay? What does that mean that they have a high therapeutic index? Remember the definition of therapeutic index. Therapeutic index is the lowest dose that's toxic to the patient divided by the dose typically used for therapy. In other words, any antibiotic that has a high therapeutic index, it means that it's less toxic because it targets pathogenic structures that do not exist in human cells. So that's why these are good, and that's why beta-lactam antibiotics are used very often. Okay? So the other ones that interfere with peptoglycan synthesis are what's called the glycopeptides antibiotics, and there's only one of these, which is the vancomycin. And then finally, bactericin, the third one. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. Okay. So here we're going to start talking about the antimicrobial drugs that inhibit cell wall synthesis, which includes the beta-lactam antibiotics. Their mechanism of action is competitively inhibit an enzyme called penicillin binding protein, which is also known as transpeptidase. This is the penicillin binding protein right here that is needed to synthesize peptoglycan. Beta lactams, they inhibit the transpeptidase enzyme, therefore preventing bacteria from forming cell wall and therefore destroying their structure. Okay? Now, oh crap. Okay. Their spectrum of activity. Okay? Since these antibiotics are going to inhibit cell wall synthesis, they cannot kill bacteria whose cell wall is weird or unique or different, which means that all beta lactams do not have any activity against Mycoplasma pneumonia because they do not have a cell wall, as you guys remember, and they do not affect the chlamydia species because they also have a unique cell wall. Okay? Now, how can a bacteria develop resistance against these beta-lactam antibiotics? Okay, well, bacteria can develop resistance against these because certain bacteria is able to synthesize an enzyme called um, beta-lactamase enzyme. Beta-lactamase enzyme, which obviously catalyzes the effect of these beta-lactam rings because it kills their structure, destroys their structure. Okay, so let's talk about these now. Okay, so antibiotic drugs that target bacterial cell wall. So these are the penicillins. These are the penicillins. Okay, all all penicillins share a basic common structure that has a side chain next to it. And then chemical modification of that side chain creates penicillin derivatives, which are then grouped into several categories. One of the categories is the natural penicillins. You guys have to know natural penicillins are actually naturally made from a mold called penicillium. Okay? You guys have to know that natural penicillins are subcategorized based on their route of administration. For example, intramuscular, abbreviated IM, intramuscular administration, that would be the procaine and benzathine. Penicillin V is the oral form of penicillin G, and then penicillin G is the IV route. Okay? I want you guys to know about penicillins in general. You guys have to know that penicillins have a better effectiveness against gram-positives. They're better against gram-positives bacteria. They have some activity against gram-negatives too. Okay? I want you guys to know that penicillin G and V is the treatment of choice against a bacteria called Treponema pallidum. This is a spirochete gram-negative bacteria which is responsible for causing syphilis. What else? I want you guys to know that penicillin G is used to treat the bacteria called Neisseria meningitidis, which causes meningitis. Neisseria meningitidis is a gram-negative Diplococcus bacteria. I also want you guys to know that penicillin G is used to treat Streptococcus. Remember, Streptococci are gram-positive. We should know that by now. Okay? Any questions so far? No questions. Yeah, I didn't. Okay. Now, one last